Stephen's here now. Sorry, I didn't.
It was alright, it was quite a heavy bladder.
They were just asking you about the film.
Okay. So that was me wee-wee.
We've got to take questions from the audience very quickly, but maybe I would like to get you to say something about the fantastic performances you both had as have the rest of it.
I found it very French looking. I really enjoyed it because it was a very good film.
You've worked with Nick before, you've worked with the application, which was fantastic. I wondered how that affected your decision to be involved in this project, and Paul, maybe you might ask you the same question differently because you haven't worked in this, but presumably you're aware of this work, and how did you come to it?
I came to the film in a very traditional way. My agent sent me a script. I thought the script was great. I thought that it was, initially when I opened it, I thought, oh no, I'm going to be watching 2 hours of Prime Suspect, reading 2 hours of Prime Suspect. Not that that's bad, but you know, I didn't want to make a movie like that. Very quickly it changed into a movie about a man who does something so violent and heinous, and he ties this knot, and in trying to, he can't untie this knot, and in trying to, he himself unravels. And I thought that was really interesting, and I have been looking for a film to make with Stephen for 5 years, something that we could do together, and I rang him up and I said, I found it, and he said, I'm in.
Without my permission.
That's actually true. And then, well, that's wrong, isn't it? I shouldn't admit that, but I did. And but he was very into the idea, and I'd seen Occupation first, and then I saw Awakening, and I thought it was startlingly brilliant, and you know, you can be caught out at moments like this, but I really mean it. Nick's the best director I've ever worked for, and if you can get a cast that has Stephan Graham and Mark Strong and Brian Cox in it, and then build an environment for them where they feel safe enough to give the very best of themselves in their work, then if I ever direct, it'll be some way in the vein of your this is arse. Yeah, I mean, you just no. Unbelievable. I said the same thing about Peter Weir, and I will say the same. I don't mean it. Nobody watches these things back, you know. Just you.
I don't quite know how to follow that.
Well, shall we take questions from the audience?
Yes.
Shall we do that? Shall we get on with that important part? Where are you? Can I see your hands, please? And would you raise your voices as well, please? So I don't want to repeat the questions. There's 2 hands straight up at the front. Can we take one of the questions? Can you shout?
I can't speak for Bill knowing that the Conviction is based on a true story. I know that the Conviction was inspired by the Jamie Bulger events and the anger that can rise up within the community. As you can see, that anger, it plays less of a role in this, and we're much more into the sort of big tragedy territory in terms of what subject matter is exposing the narrative. I don't know. I know that Bill has very strong feelings about a human's ability to be ugly and beautiful. And I know that he and I talked about, Orwell talked about the mind. Orwell talks about the essence of being human is Orwell's a writer.
It was like this all the time on set. It was, I was like the stepchild. I was the red-headed stepchild, and this was me, mum and dad. It was very funny, honest to God.
Talking about the essence of being human is a willingness to commit sin for the sake of loyalty, and that being integral to our humanity. The fact that we're prepared to go to hell for people we love is one of the characters says in it. So those are perennial interests of the Gallagher anyway. The humanity of people, and in all his characters and whatever genre he's writing, there's actually kernels of genuine sort of humanity. He's very good at that. Writes with great delicacy about very violent, awful things, and that's very beguiling as well. But I didn't see Conviction. I know, sorry. That sounds good.
Hands over this one.
Was the premise question about twins?
Yeah. Well, you get him, Steve.
We found the reason for this, and it's obviously it wasn't Nick's choice. It was Paul's idea to cast me in this movie. And I must say, and his argument was very strong. I think he said to you, well, you and Will Stevens that big, and you're that big, and he said, well, not all brothers look alike. So.
No. Also, you want the actor. Honestly, no one thanks you at the end of the film if the actor's wrong. You know, to me, that's the main thing, and I get over all that. And there's certain things I just find myself not caring about. I don't care about police procedure. I know cops don't behave that way. It's I just want to go and sit in the dark and have the story told to me, and I don't care as long as I've got the
And he looks like my mum and I look like my dad. I thought that was quite obvious.
More hands, please. I'm seeing everybody down at the front, so if there are hands at the back, please shout your question.
Yeah. Can you say more about the father, why you included the character with Alzheimer's?
I think it wasn't my decision to have a character with dementia, of course, it's Bill's. But the reason he's in it with that condition is familial history and the retelling of mythology within a family is very interesting anyway. And to make the author of that myth now forget it and leave only the scars and the weight of that mythology upon the brothers, there's something rather beautiful about that. And then we all have that about our families. This is very, I talked about the area. Well, my dad died shortly before we started filming, and those are the sand flats we built sandcastles on. And the line about the wind is a line I mentioned to Bill. It's something my dad had said when we were kids. And we all know the way we sort of exaggerate and mythologize our own existence to our children, and they did to us. And Dad did that to me. To hear it, you think he was Tarzan growing up. And that's a part of it. And I think it was just quite interesting to then make the author of that forget. And in doing so, almost absolve himself of the guilt. When Joe says at the end, I fucked up, you sort of wonder whether it's sort of Lenny as well. It's sort of Lenny's fault. It's sort of he fucked up. I just think this is a very complicated relationship. It gets more complicated because the man has dementia.
I've got a couple more questions, please. Yes, right.
I wanted to ask Stephen, what was it like to work with one of the finest actors of his generation, Mark Strong?
Fucking gets it. But you're right though.
It was just an honour to work with the whole cast. To work with Paul was an absolute joy. Like he said, we've been looking for something to do for a long time together, and there was just so much trust on set. It was that. There was points where I said, Chrissy's doing it, and he's just a moaner. He does not want crying. But it was a very emotional set, and it was a joy to work on it.
It was hard work. It was a bit cold that day. These guys are standing in suits in February in northwest of England, and the morale needs to be high.
There was a lot of jokes on set, good atmosphere. But we lived together while we were actually filming.
And that's true. It was, and I did all the cooking because he can no more cook than he can go rude. But Mark Strong, he is a truly beautiful actor, and what's even more irritating is he's the nicest human being ever met in your life. It's just so exhausting how lovely he is.
Definitely.
We've just got time for one more question. Not ignoring anybody over here, Emily,
Is that Mark Strong?
I think it was his agent.
I'm in the corner, yes?
Oh no, just pointing at him. He had his hand up.
Go on a visit.
Can you, this is for the director, can you talk a bit about when you, how you arrived at the point of making Occupation, and is that distinction between your work since then and before?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question very clearly. You're asking about how I came to make Occupation?
Well, at the point you arrived at making Occupation,
Yeah.
do you see a distinction or an evolution in your work since then, and what?
Do you know what? Okay, that's a really interesting question. I don't know, because I don't really, one doesn't really chart one's career that way in a way. I just do the best with the job that's in front of me that I fancy the most, and I can retrofit a logic. I can go back and sort of pretend there was an arc,
Do that.
development. But I don't think it's true. I don't think it's there. I don't. Just like a lot of directors retrofit inspirations and touchstones and the things that have inspired them and all. I think that's all. I'll just let other people do that at the most. I look at what the script. I did what Sidney Lumet did. I mean, he just did it as well as he did. But I just look at what is the text in front of, what's the story in front of you, and how do you tell that absolutely the best way you can. And if that means a fable, then do. And if that means to imbue the piece of occupations you talk about with a sense of loss of control, which is what Iraq is all about, then do that. Film to accentuate that. And if the awakening needs to be done, that's all. So I couldn't answer. I'm sorry, that's not very helpful. But I just close my eyes. I read the script. I close my eyes and think, what's the film I see? And then I go to set wanting to deliver that. And if these guys have better ideas, I keep my ears open. And if all my collaborators have better ideas, I keep my ears open, and then we end up with a film.
I'm afraid we'll have to draw things to a close there. It's been one of those months where my job's been very easy because of the guests we've had on stage. Thank you all for your contribution. I'd like to thank the mention again. I really appreciate it.